Hello, this is Catherine Cantey. I am an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't mind throwing in the chat where you are coming in from, that would be fantastic. And I'm trying to get all my buttons lined up correctly here. I think we got it. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you located today? I am in a small town in South Carolina, but that allowed me to be close to an international airport to travel around the US to learn business best practices and to be trained by Marshall Goldsmith for stakeholder center coaching. So it's afforded a lot of opportunity to be in a small town and then also to have that exposure elsewhere. So the last session that we had, we talked about what makes a great leader, what makes a good leader. And I thought that would be a good topic to talk about today. So if you don't mind throwing in the chat, where are you dialing from? That would be fantastic. I love to keep learning and hearing from others. I don't even know, does this even relate to you? Does it intrigue you to kind of hear some best practices of what makes a good leader? I'd love to hear either a yes or a no if you find it helpful. Before we get started, some of the other topics that we've talked about in the past were mindsets in mid-January. We also talked about things not going as planned and how do you overcome some of that. And then also this last week, we shared a little bit about the Take Control event that we had. We had a Take Control of Your 2023 last week. Each day we went live and we talked about a new topic that I actually teach my clients. And we talked about a different topic every day, Monday through Friday for 1 hour. And the topics included visioning. They included getting what you need. They included action planning, and Lord knows I'm biased towards action. I've been told that many times. And then we talked about the mindset and the energy that we're able to give to others. And I'd love to hear from you. You know, what do one of these topics hit home closer to you more than one or the other? If you don't mind sharing, even if you're listening to the replay, I would love for you to just put replay down there and be able to share with me, you know, does visioning, is that a big topic for you right now? Is getting what you need from others, is that something that's really important with where you are right now? Or even action planning, how do you get the momentum going? And then finally, the mindset. The mindset is such a huge topic. I've done a number of podcasts on business vitality with a great guy named Brian Goffredson. He is fantastic. If you catch any of those podcasts, you can hear about the mindset and how we need to shift that mindset. And then also last week, we talked about the importance of energy. So if any of these topics hit home, I would love to hear from you. Visioning, getting what you need, action planning, mindset, or the importance of energy. Feel free to throw that in the chat, or if you're listening to the replay, go ahead and put that in there. Some topics I'm thinking about as we go ahead. There is a list, probably a short list, maybe about 20 things of what leaders are working on the most to become more effective in their place of business. And this list of about 20 things has been compiled over 40 years, 4 decades. And it is about 11,000 leaders that have been through this kind of training. And these are the topics that keep coming back to them. So I'm thinking next time, maybe we talk about a few of those topics. And this particular coaching work has actually been used on 4 different continents. So it's pretty cool to get to see how it begins to work and getting to create this amazing opportunity for growth. All right, so today's topic is what makes a good leader. And we had a session last week where this was shared, which was pretty cool. One of the participants dialed in and he shared this book called T.H. Kelly, The Little Green Handbook. And it was a book that was written back in I think it was the 1960s or 70s. This gentleman served in the military. He then went and worked in a paper plant, where he managed 500,000 acres of timber. And for those of you who know me, we've got a little bit of a background in agriculture. So some of you may be familiar with the ag industry. And what we found is the best practices that he learned in the military also applied in his corporate world when he left military and he went out and was managing 500 1,000 acres of timber and then also a sawmill. And so he's written this book that was a little dated, but the information on the inside is fantastic. It's still relevant today. All the work that we're doing with our coaching clients, these are practical applications, and we create accountability, we create discussion, we tailor it to fit the client's needs, and it's creating peak performance with these teams that are out there. The first thing, and if you don't mind, I would definitely say write this down. The first thing that this book talks about, and the first thing that we do with our clients, is you have to set a goal. And setting that goal, or having that mission, is maybe what the military would share, is really important to being a good leader. And so being a good leader is, number one, have a goal, have a mission. So write that down if you don't mind. If you can go ahead and just write down, have a goal is the first thing that makes a good leader. I think that is one of those vital things that continues to create amazing success day after day, month after month, year after year. And, as we think about it, we shared last week that you can just have a good goal or a good plan. And it doesn't always have to be perfect. And a lot of times we need to create imperfect action in order to create momentum towards that goal or towards that mission. And I shared a story last week. We were putting some flooring into this building that we're putting in, and the flooring situation did not happen as planned. I had a good plan. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was good. I lined it up 10 days prior. I had all the flooring materials that showed up. The flooring materials showed up. I got the guys booked. I got my installers there. We're ready to go. I'm teaching this class, and about 3 hours before this class starts last week, I got a phone call that all the flooring materials are broken and they're not going to work. Well, it's taken me 10 days to get materials. It's taken me, I don't know how long it took for me to get installers there. But all of a sudden, 3 hours before I'm supposed to go on this camera, I'm supposed to figure out how to fix the flooring situation. So, what turned out to be a good goal totally got thrown out the window. I was able to take this goal, scrap it, and then just make a decision. We need to start from scratch. I've got to figure out what my options are. So I started making phone calls. My options were I could drive an hour each way to go get new flooring, which I didn't have time for. I could go to Lowe's and just work off of the floor of whatever they got and patch it and just figure it out. Or there was a local solution of somebody that was starting up their business and had the flooring solution there. I didn't know the guy, he didn't know me. So what I did is I boiled it down. We got 3 options. And I found that I went through with the third option. I went with the guy that's starting up a business. He had the flooring in stock. We were able to get it delivered all within that time frame that I was in. And meanwhile, while I'm solving that problem, the flooring guys are prepping for the surface for the new floor. And so we just kept it moving. And I didn't know where it was going to take me, but I knew that I had to trust this next decision and trust the next decision and trust the next decision. It was very far from being perfect. And as a recovering perfectionist, I can, struggle with this a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And we're just going to keep the momentum going. Luckily, by 1 o'clock last week on that particular day, we had the floors going in. They were being installed. And at the end of the day, as I look at it, it was a better quality flooring at a lesser price. So what I thought was a good plan that I had to scrap came back and allowed me to have a lower price at a better quality, totally unexpected. Yes, it kind of threw a wrench in the morning, but I was able to kind of bounce back and take some imperfect action and make some decisions along the way that allowed us to still accomplish the goal or accomplish the mission. So when you talk about, what makes a good leader, as the T.H. Kelly Little Green Handbook says, the first goal of making a good leader or creating the success is to have a mission, to have a goal. And I know when I look at this, sometimes these goals are overwhelming. If I can break it down into 3 steps, 3 things, just break it down into 3 tangible things that I can at least get my head around and then begin to take each one of those steps, it allows me to create that momentum. And we talked a lot about momentum last week. And it just allows me to continue to move forward. And it may not be perfect, but it's going to be better than where we were. And something that I've also learned is when you have a goal, when you have a mission, we have to keep it simple. So when I'm working with clients, we're keeping it uber simple. We're using language that is easy to receive. So as we share what our goal is, It's not some long drawn out process. It's building talent. It's elevating executive presence. It's improving my time management. If we can be clear, we are being kind to the people who have to hear us share what our goals are. And it's going to be easier for them to receive that information. For those of you who are just joining us, I would love for you just to kind of share where you're coming in from. I'm in South Carolina, and I love to hear kind of where everybody else is. It's kind of fun to get to see that. I had one day, I was doing a podcast recording and I was chatting with this lady, and she's in Singapore, of all places, which was pretty cool. So it's great when technology works. It allows us to connect and continue to share. And so if you don't mind throwing in the chat where you're coming from, or even in the replay, if you don't mind sharing, I think it's fun just to kind of see where we're all coming from, because we have different experiences and different opportunities that allow us to keep growing and sharing and paying it forward. So today we're talking about what makes a good leader. And there's 3 things according to T.H. Kelly's Little Green Handbook. And this book was shared with me last week during our Take Control event, where I taught everything that I'm teaching my clients. And I did it as a free live session. And it was kind of interesting. The second thing that this Little Green Handbook includes is know there is a slim chance of success. So T.H. Kelly's Little Green Handbook, and I tie this into because it's practical applications. It is practical, and everything that we do with our clients is practical because it needs to be able to be implemented and not overly complicated in order to create success. So I thought this was great. One of the participants shared this Little Green Handbook, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it totally lines in with the work that we were doing last week. And I thought, what a great way to share what makes a great leader. And the second thing is know that there is a slim chance, there is any sort of chance for success. So the leader can share that we have an opportunity, and there is an opportunity for us to succeed. So the Little Green Handbook, the first one, you may want to write this down. The first thing for making a good leader is have a goal or a mission. The second thing that we're talking about right now is know that there's a slim chance of success. And I know that when I look back on some projects that I've worked on, I've had a few slim chances of success. One that immediately comes to mind is some broadband work that we did, where I showed up to a lunch and learn. And I think we've all been to lunch and learns over the years. If you've been in corporate long enough, you've had your lunch and learns. I'm just there just to open up my opportunities of like, what else is out there? What else can I learn? What other kind of value can I provide to my customers? And so when I learn internally what services we have and what struggles we're having, it just opens up my eyes to be able to figure out how to connect with people in a better way. And so in this session, they talked about vertical assets, and vertical assets are water tower, grain bins, fire towers, things like that, real estate that goes up and down. And at the time I was working in a farm credit bank, and they provide funding to agriculture and rural communities. And so when I was on the road for 7 years, going out to see these rural communities, you would see in the middle of these fields, grain towers, you would see grain bins, fire towers, even water towers, and it's vertical assets. It goes up, it's real estate that can be sold off for broadband and coverage that's out there that can help these farmers be able to use the technology that they need in the field to keep us fed and happy. So I'm learning about this, and I realized that even in my own hometown, we have this opportunity to be able to close a broadband gap. Maybe not make it perfect, but at least get it better. So I had a discussion with this gentleman, and we just continued these conversations over time, and it led us to an opportunity for a federal grant where we could apply with our community for a federal grant to help close our broadband gap. And I'm oversimplifying this process by huge amounts of simplification. But because we were able to believe that there's a slim chance that we could win this money coming from the federal government to help close the broadband gap, we were able to share a vision, a mission with the community to ask if we thought that reliable broadband was going to be enough for what we needed for our future. And the local leaders, the politicians, we all came together. We all agreed, yes, we need reliable broadband for the future of our community. So these were all these small things. There's a slim chance that maybe we could all agree. everybody of different backgrounds could all agree. And we did. We cold called on a telecommunications company and said, we have a provider-friendly community. Is there a chance that you might want to partner with us and respond to this huge RFP, request for proposal? They said yes. We worked together. We created letters of support from everywhere. We submitted this RFP with the telecommunications provider's support. And months later, at that point, you're like, do I have any chance? I have a little chance that I might be able to win. At the very end, at the end of the day, $12.1 million of public and private funding came into this community to help close the broadband gap. And we did that through putting in 256 miles of fiber into the ground. And it's because all these people came together and we all worked together towards this end goal, towards this mission. And it took a long time and it took a lot of letters and it took a lot of work, but we were able to do that and deliver it. But as the Little Green Handbook says, you got to have a mission and you've got to have a slim chance of success. And so the broadband work is definitely a slim chance of success. And I would love to hear from you in the chat. Do you have anything that you were successful with that was a slim chance of success? I feel like we all have these things that happen to us in life and we're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work or not. And, if we can share that and maybe put it in the chat of what is something that you had a slim chance of success and you were able to win. I'd love to hear from you in that. And if you're taking notes, what makes a good leader? We're tying it back into the Little Green Handbook. The first thing is have a mission or a goal. The second thing is know that there is a slim chance of success. The third thing that the Little Green Handbook references is know that your leader has your back. Know that your leader has your back. We've all been there where we're not sure if our leader has our back. And we know that when our leader has our back, we can do so much more. We can succeed so much faster. We can take the right chances. We can grow the business when we've got the backing that we need. And the third thing that the Little Green Handbook writes about is know the leader has your back. And I'm sure we all have examples of the leader having our back or not having our back. But I just want to pause and remember the Little Green Handbook's 3 things for creating a good leader. Have a mission or a goal. Know there's a slim chance of success. And then also know that the leader has your back. And when we talk about does the leader have your back, have you started thinking about the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? A lot of times we focus on the mentor. We focus on somebody who we can brainstorm with. And I'm going to challenge the way you think. And I want you to pivot and not necessarily focus on the mentor. I want you to focus on the sponsor. Who are the people that you work with day in and day out? Maybe you don't see them as often as you want to, but who are your sponsors? Because the sponsors are the people who have your back when the doors are closed and you are not in that room. Who are the sponsors in your career? It could be your chairman of the board. It could be a committee that you serve on. It could be your executive team. It could be the head of HR. It could be the procurement, the legal department. It could be any of these departments. Do you have people strategically located within these teams that have your back when the door is closed and you are not in that room? So you want to know that the leader has your back, but let's take it one step further and strategically think about your career and your life. Who are your sponsors that are supporting you? And we cannot lean on these people until we give to these people. So I want to pivot the mindset. You've got to give before you get. You have to give before you get. And if you want to write something down, I strongly encourage you to give before you get. If you can write that down, because the day's going to come when you're going to need help from somebody else. And if you haven't given enough and invested enough in that relationship, they're not going to want to give. They're going to see you as a taker. And we want other people to see you as a giver. This is the kind of stuff that I'm working with my clients. They are creating accelerated success in their careers, in their leadership, because we're able to have these accountability discussions. They bring in real life examples of what's happening in the world, in their world. We tailor conversations to fit the needs of where they are with the conversations that they're having, and we figure out ways on how to accelerate the growth. and they choose whether or not they want to accelerate, or they choose whether they want to just pause and observe with what's going on. The beauty of this work is it's in your hands. It's in the client's hands. I'm here to support you. I'm here to cheer you on. I'm here to pay it forward and take all of my past experiences and let you know I tried something like that, and this is what happened to me. If I had to do it again, this is probably what I would do. So I'm here to be able to be a sounding board. If any of this stuff hits home with you, I'd love to hear it in the chat. We have free resources that are available to you. If you go to catherinecantey.com/learn more, you can see all the successes that our clients are having, the testimonies that they provided us. We also have a website, catherinecantey.com/resources. If you want to go to that page, we have free 2-minute leadership lesson videos. There's also links to my podcast, Business Vitality, if you want to go out there and check out any of those interviews. The point with Business Vitality is to be able to share the lessons and to be able to share the best practices of other executives and leaders that have been here and have done that, and they want to pay it forward as well. And so we capture these interviews, we capture what they're learning, and we want to continue to pay it forward. And we do that through the Business Vitality podcast. We also have a group on LinkedIn called Business Vitality to continue this discussion of what are the executives seeing, what are the key leaders seeing, and how can we make each other better and be able to share best practices. So as the Little Green Handbook shares with us, what makes a good leader? I thought, well, this just ties in perfect to the question that we had last week on Monday's LinkedIn Live. I'm going to keep doing these LinkedIn Lives Mondays at 1:30 Eastern. And the question was, what makes a good leader? And so I thought, let's tie it into the work that we did last week, the Take Control event, where I shared all of my lessons or a bulk of my lessons that I use with my clients on how they are accelerating their leadership success. We have been working with leaders, with teams, businesses, individuals, and we're applying practical applications in order to deliver accountability and peak performance and accelerating the growth that they're experiencing. And so as we talk about what makes a good leader, as the Little Green Handbook says, have a mission or a goal. Know there's a slim chance for success. And the third thing is know that the leader has your back. When we have these working together, we're able to follow that leader, not just the manager, but the leader. We're able to follow that leader, and we'll have their back just as they have our back. If you would like to learn more, send me a note. I love talking about this stuff. I love supporting my clients that are able to create accelerated results with their leadership. They're growing their teams, they're growing themselves. They are building talent within the organization. I had one individual that I was working with, he hired me. We had a group that we were working with, and it was a very young leadership team, but about halfway through the engagement, for one reason or another, I don't know why this stuff happens, but if you're beginning to see it more and more, sometimes there's just a turnover in leadership, even though everybody thinks, we're not retiring anytime soon, but for one reason or another, half the leadership team turns over. He had this team coaching in place. It was able to accelerate, his leaders were able to accelerate their results, their leadership skills, their discussions within the organization, to be able to be exposed, to know that these are the people that are on the bench that are ready for succession planning. And they were able to accelerate that and be able to identify which key talented people needed to move into these roles. So we didn't even know at the beginning of this engagement that he was going to have some key leaders that were not going to be there at the end of this engagement. Halfway through this, he begins to have these conversations with these leaders just because it's part of the work that we're doing. It created exposure and conversations that he would not have normally had because we set intention and accountability. These are short 2, 3, 4-minute conversations, but when you have this momentum and you build this over time, you begin to have exposure and you begin to see what the opportunities are. And from there, he was easily able to identify the top talent that could then be groomed to take on these new positions and to be able to promote from within. We don't know who's going to be here in 30 days, 60 days, and a year. But if we can get our people as ready as we can, as fast as we can, so then when we have a crisis that hits, we are able to respond and be proactive instead of reactive. I know I was just speaking with somebody earlier today about the importance of being able to proactively plan rather than come in on a Monday or at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the year, and just react to everything. It's just not going to be helpful. It's not going to help us. It doesn't help with the energy. We'll get decision fatigue. But if we can go back out there and just proactively plan as much as we can, grow the talent that we have within this organization, and allow these people to grow the way people have allowed us to grow, our businesses are going to continue to remain vital day after day, month after month, year after year. If you would like to keep learning, please send me a note. Let me know what topics could be of interest for you for next time. That's how I get all my ideas, is from you guys. Ellen, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you have any other topics that you're interested in, let me know. I know some topics are bigger than others right now. And as a way to pay it forward, I know that we need to continue to pay it forward. We need to give before we get. There's a lot of folks going through some layoffs right now. You're going to see people who have a lot of courage, and they're sharing that they're asking for help. Take a minute, make a connection for them. I know I just saw one of my old connections put out there, hey, I need some help. I was just one of 20,000 that got laid off, and this was totally unexpected. Go ahead and see if you can find one connection for that person who's in need, because we never know when the tables are going to be turned, and we need to have that other connection. So pay it forward. And as the Little Green Handbook says, what makes a good leader? Have a mission or a goal. Know there's a slim chance for success, and know the leader has your back. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach. I'm the podcast host of Business Vitality, and I so appreciate you being here. I will be here next week, Monday at 1:30 live, to talk about more leadership topics and practical applications. Thank you so much.